Good morning, everyone. I welcome you all to this national webinar on innovation and startup ecosystem enablers organized by the Institution's Innovation Council of Dhempe College of Arts and Science, Miramar, Goa. I welcome the guest speaker for today's session, Mr. Sanjay Mulvi. We welcome you, sir, at Dhempe College and highly privileged to have you for the session. I also welcome the principal of Dhempe College, Professor Vrinda Borkar, and request you, madam, to address the function.
Thank you, Deepa. Okay, and first of all, I would like to thank Mr. Sanjay Mulvi to have accepted our invitation for this session. Mrs. Sanjay Mulvi, you must be aware that our college is entering into the 60th year, okay, which was started just after liberation. And always when there is a need for change, the college believes that we cannot be static. We cannot just be static in the sense that I think in 1962 when it was started, it was lectures and practicals. There were a few subjects. After that, what happened is the things started changing. We started with value addition courses. We added many more departments. We started departments like biotechnology, computer science. So, Dhempe College always tries to be in tune with the surrounding. That is, whatever is the present need, we go with it. So, year before last, we started with Institutions Innovation Council because this is the need of the hour. Though Goans are reluctant to go into the startups and innovation, they like the white collar jobs, they like the jobs rather. And not only jobs, government jobs. Actually, it is a sad state because the youngsters should take up the new challenges. We try our lot, okay? We give them interaction with entrepreneurs. We hold such type of various talks. However, maybe few, but we can at least name a few who have converted themselves into entrepreneurs. Though majority feel that they should have a safe government job, some of the students are taking the challenge of being innovative and going into startup and entrepreneurship. So this Institute Innovation Council, which is led by our Deepavali, I would say that she organizes each and every program so meticulously and tries to even organize the competitions, send them for state level competitions. We have won prizes also in past. We got 2 prizes, first prizes at the state And this has led us to get 4-star out of 5 by Institutions Innovation Council, Ministry of Education, New Delhi. So that is a feather in our cap, and that is because our team of this IIC is working well. According to me, actually, rather than getting 4-star, if I see that this entrepreneur and startups at least 5, if I am able to develop per year, it would be a real star for me. Because after all, why are we organizing all this? We are organizing not to show the numbers that Mr. Sanjay Mulvi had come here, he delivered a nice talk, or we had many more entrepreneurs from abroad also. So it is not to show the numbers, it is not to give the certificate, but it is to make them feel that this is the need of the hour, jobs will decrease. At present, they may feel that there is that only government people are getting money at present. But this is a pandemic situation. But later, the things will post pandemic. India will be totally different, and we have to keep ourselves ready to face the new challenges. And Dhempe College is trying to prepare the students for the new challenges. Any time, even the government job may go after the pandemic. We do not know what will be the state. At that time, are we ready to earn our living? So that is very important. So now today, a very apt personality, Sanjay Mulvi, has been inducted by Deepa for this session. I am really happy that you have accepted our uh, invitation. I hope the students who are online make the best use of your expertise. And I also thank you again. And I wish you should have been in person in Dhempe College, because we are starting with our 60th celebration now. And perhaps yours is the first lecture of this 60th celebration. Our celebration on 20th of this month, this is our 60th Founders Day. So I would say this is the starting eve week of 20th, and you are giving a session of startup, which is the correct session for the next decade. Okay, so thank you very much. And without now wasting time, I appreciate time spent by Deepa in organizing all the things. Her team also is doing an excellent work. Okay, I appreciate all of you, and also I appreciate the students who have joined here. Okay, thank you all.
Thank you very much, madam, for your inspiring words and giving a brief introduction of IIC functioning at Dhempe College. I take this privilege to introduce the guest speaker of today's session, Mr. Sanjay Mulvi, who is the head at Incubation and Seed Fund Center for Incubation and Business Acceleration at Verna, Goa. Mr. Sanjay Mulvi is a graduate in chemistry from PS College, Parmagudi. He later pursued MBA Finance from Goa Business School at Goa University. He has worked as a quality control officer at CGPPI Adhesive Products Limited. He was then posted as the manager at Seed Fund and Incubation since December 2018 and is presently heading the unit at Seed Fund and Incubation since November 2020. His specialization includes corporate finance, portfolio management, strategic thinking and planning, leadership and business plan writing. Mr. Sanjay Mulvi has two certifications to his credit from LinkedIn courses, namely strategic thinking and creating a business plan. At Dhempe College, we welcome you, sir. All of us are very eager to hear from the speaker. So I request Mr. Sanjay Mulvi to kindly take over the session.
Am I audible? Yeah.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
So thank you, ma'am, for your kind introduction. So a very good morning to you all. It's really great to see so many of you attending this session, showing interest in this, because these terms, innovation and startup, they are on its course to become the most important ones in your career, right? And as everything else will be superfluous, we are heading towards an era, as correctly pointed out by Madam Principal, that wherein the jobs will be limited, right? So it's important for you guys to explore the opportunities, possibilities of becoming job creators rather than job seekers, right? So with that, we will begin our session of today's session. So I have prepared a small PPT. I'll be sharing my screen now. So please let me know if it is difficult. Yeah, is my screen visible?
Yes, it is visible.
Great, great. So, yeah, as mentioned earlier, I work as SEBA, Center for Incubation and Business Acceleration. This is a technology business incubator set up in the year 2012 with support from Department of Science and Technology, Government of India. Right? So, I assume that all of you, know what SEBA is. If not, I will just brief you about what SEBA is and what work we do. Right? So, basically, what we do is we support and handhold early stage startups. Okay, if someone has any idea of developing a startup, so we help them in terms of fine tuning their business plan, helping them validate their idea, then helping them with all the registrations, the office spaces, and all that stuff. Right? So we provide the necessary support at their initial stages so that they can, grow and set up their business in a successful way. Right? So we have been in this industry since last, more than 8 years, and we have supported more than 139 startups till date. We have also invested in some of those startups for amounting to rupees 2 crores. We have just recently, a week back, have closed down an investment of 20 lakhs in one of our incubated startups. So those are the main things that we provide to the startups in Q4, right? So yeah, that's about SEBA. So I will quickly dive into this presentation because we have about 45 minutes left, right? So before doing that, I just want to put across something. Um, I want this session to be interactive, otherwise it will be just me bombarding some information uh, you know, on you guys. Right? So let's not make this session that but making this session more interesting. We will have dialogues where we will share our thoughts, right? So whenever I ask any question, you can answer those. It doesn't matter if it is wrong. It doesn't matter if it is So that shouldn't be it shouldn't be your thinking, right? If anything is there that you want to share, then you can put it across in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself and answer whenever the time comes, if it is allowed by the host, right? So I just wanted to put across this. So yeah, we are talking about startup innovation and startup ecosystem enablers, right? So, but what do we exactly mean by a startup? So, can anyone tell me what a startup is in their own words? It doesn't have to be any definition from internet or something like that. What do you think? Generally, what do you mean by a startup? You can use the chat box or you can unmute yourself and ask. Yes. What do you mean by a startup? It's just a basic question. Our own business, right? Mobile for a kid. Yeah. Great, great. That's a really good answer. Anyone else? I will take two more answers and give you one. Novel business idea. Yes, yes. That's a very good way to put it. Anyone else? You can even unmute yourself and tell me. That's not an issue. You're starting your own business. Great. Okay. Okay. Right. So let us assume a scenario. Okay. So one fine day, I quit my job. Okay, I'm working super right. So I quit my job and I start a restaurant business. Okay, I'll set up my own restaurant. I take some loan from some government and I set up my restaurant and in a really good place. With a lot of people coming in and out. And here I'm running it, successfully, right? So I've started my own business. Okay, so will you call this as a startup? This is my second question. Will you call My restaurant as a startup. Say it's either yes or no. Come on, guys, I need answers from you. See, I have just set up a restaurant, right? A normal restaurant in a very good place, and I'm running it successfully, right? And this is a new business and my own business, right? Um, so will you call it as a startup? Will it be a startup? Exactly, Ashish. It won't be called as a startup because it's something that which people are already doing, right? I'm not doing anything new, and I'm not doing anything innovative. It's just a business. So having your own business is not called as a startup, right? Exactly. No, it's just business. It's so the correct word for it is enterprise. It's not a startup. Rather than it is an enterprise. So you will see the difference between enterprise and startup later in the presentation, right? So back to my question: what is a startup? So basically, what Ashish has said, it is a novel business idea. It should have some innovative approach, right? So let us take a definition. Let us take a look at the definition which is provided by DPIIT, that is Department for Promotion of Industries and Internet Trade, right? So they have this scheme called Startup India scheme, right? And wherein they under which they give you the recognition of startup as being a startup. They give you the certification, and there are other benefits as well, right? Including seed funding, right? So as per the definition, right, a startup has to fulfill these five criteria. Okay, or any business has to fulfill these five criteria. If they are fulfilling these five criteria, all of the five criteria they are called as a startup. Okay, first of all, the company's age. Okay, the period of existence or the operations of that particular venture, right, should not be exceeding 10 years from the date of incorporation. Okay, so it shouldn't be in operations for more than 10 years. If it's less than 10 years, yes, they can be considered to call as a startup, right? Then the company structure. The company should be private limited or a registered partnership or a limited liability partnership or in just something which is added recently, a OPC, 1% company. Okay, you cannot call a proprietary business as a startup. Okay, so only these four uh, structure are allowed, okay, for registering as a startup by the government of India. Then the annual turnover, right? It should not exceed 100 crores, okay, for any of the financial years. For example, if my company is in operations for last 8 years, right? In these 8 years, I shouldn't have crossed more than 100 crores, okay, as our annual turnover, okay. Then it should be an original entity. It should not be an entity which has been created by setting up a already existing business or restructuring a business or a merger. Right? It should be a new entity, original entity. And the most important part, as um, mentioned by Ashish, so innovation and scalability. Right? So this venture should work towards development or improvement of a product, right, or process or service, and it has to have a scalable business model, right? Only then it will be considered as a startup, right? So if your venture fulfills all these five criteria, right, you will be certified as a startup under Government of India. Okay. Now, let this is kind of a flexible definition because, like for example, our state government, right, the government of Goa has its own definition. So they have, said that the company age should not be more than 7 years, right? Then the company's turnover should not be more than 25 crore. Here it is 100 crores, but in the government of Goa, it is said to be 25 crores, right? So there are this, flexible definition, but the major important one is this, the innovation and scalability, right? It is present in all the definitions. Okay? So let us focus on that, right? Innovation should be the key. If you are doing something, make sure that you innovate. Okay, it doesn't have to be a invention per se, right? It doesn't have to be a new product or a new service. It can be even invention or innovation in business model of your venture, right? So that is also possible. So, but having innovation is a must for any startup, right? So I hope you guys have got a brief idea about startup. Right? Now, as I mentioned earlier, the difference between startup and enterprise. So basically, startups are more riskier, right? Because chances of it taking off is at, if you see the success ratio in well-developed startup ecosystems like Silicon Valley, the success ratio is anywhere around 30 to 40%, right? Maybe even less than that, right? And even at SIBA, we have supported more than one technology startup, as I mentioned, but only 58 of those have been able to, move out and successfully run their business, able to graduate, right? And that gives us a success rate of about just above 40%, right? So, that's why it is the risk associated with the startup is high, but we also have to take into consideration that high risk translates to a higher profit, or in this case, more success, right? So that is also there. Then startups are mostly loss making during their initial years, right? Because these startups are working on something new, right? Maybe they're working on a new product, or maybe they're working to change the whole lifestyle of the customers and the consumers, right? And that takes time, that takes a lot of effort, and that takes a lot of cash burning, right? So if you see, major unicorns that we call them in startup ecosystem, right? If you take example of um, Flipkart, right? If you take example of Paytm, then there is even a new one that is Cred and all, right? So they are running in losses. They are not making profits as of now. But their consumer base is growing rapidly. Their scalability is growing rapidly, right? And that's why they tend to get more investors on board who pumps in money to balance their cash burn, right? So yeah, startups are mostly loss making during the initial years, right? So that you have to take into consideration. Then mostly startup businesses models are unestablished because enterprises are there since the beginning of the time. You get a lot of many restaurants, lot of many supermarkets and all, right? So there is a specific business model which they use, and it's been carried out since for a long time now, right? But when you are working on startup, everything is new, right? So again, it adds to the risk, but also adds to the rewards. And the final and the most important one, as I mentioned earlier, the innovativeness of a startup. Right? Startups have inventions, startup innovations in their business model, in their product, in their service. You won't find that, or you will find minimal innovation in enterprises, right? So it will be like next to none, right? So these are the major differences between a startup and an enterprise. So you need to take, you know, uh, remember this, right? Whenever someone asks you about what a startup is. Right? So yeah, back to our core, topic for today, right? Startup ecosystem enablers, right? So what we have done till now is we got to know what the difference between a startup and an enterprise, and what you all need to do to make to get your startup registered under Government of India or Government of India, right? Now let us talk about the ecosystem as a whole. Wherein we have various stakeholders, various players, playing their part to make this ecosystem grow, right? To develop this ecosystem. Even in Goa, the ecosystem is not well developed as compared to the startup ecosystem in major cities like Bangalore and Mumbai, Hyderabad, right? But we are on the right track, right? Because in the last 2 years, I personally have worked with and supported more than 60 startups, right? So that's a good sign that people are coming up with new ideas, new ventures, right? So what do you mean by startup ecosystem enabler? So basically, enabler is the entity that can facilitate growth of the startup ecosystem through means of investment, mentorship, connections, and market access. This is basically a small definition, right? What basically it means is it helps to develop by providing the whatever value they can provide. It can be investment, it can be just mentorship, it can be networking, right? It can be your commercialization, right? All those stuff, right? So whoever who provide value to the startup ecosystem is called as a startup. So basically, we will talk about startup ecosystem enablers into this session, right? So which are incubators, accelerators, mentors. There are industry bodies, there are government bodies who continuously uh, develop some new schemes for, and there are service providers that let us one part. So first of all, we have incubators. So basically, incubators are the ones who provide necessary support, to the startups in their early stage, as I mentioned earlier, with SIBA, right? So basically, they provide the viable environment for an idea to emerge into a startup. Okay, so anything related to validating that idea, uh, developing a prototype, right? And developing a MVP, that is minimum viable product, testing the MVP, getting the final product out in the market, right? Helping them with the initial traction, right? So that is what incubators does for a startup, right? So that's where incubator can provide a really good value because they have the connects, they have the all the connects with enablers as well, right? So and together they try to help or aspire entrepreneurs to to help them take off their ideas, set up a startup, right? And mostly the incubators works with in terms of cohort programs, right? Wherein they organize a special program focused on one particular technology, and there are various entrepreneurs, who are working in that line, right? They join in, they take the necessary inputs. There are mentoring sessions there, and at the end of the cohort program, they have their prototype or the MVP ready, right? And then they are ready for pitching to the investors, right? So that's how an incubator works. Then we have investors, right? So I'm not talking about just one particular type of investor over here. There are various, like there are PI, then there are AIs, right? And then the private equity, then angel investors and VCs, right? All those things. So I've just clubbed them into one and called as an investor. So basically, they are the avenues of funding for startups, right? They bring more than just the money, right? It's not just the money that they want to the table, but their expertise, their experience in various fields, right? Because they have been there, they have done that. They have been working with various startups. It's not just your startup they are working with, but they have been in contact with various startups, and all the expertise which they have accumulated throughout the years, right? So you can take benefit out of them. also, right? And it should be a criteria whenever you are selecting investors to go and meet and pitch your ideas. You need to make sure that it they have the background that you are looking for. They have expertise in the area that you are looking, right? So that is very important while selecting. And investments are like fuel to the startup, because if you see, as I mentioned earlier, all of the unicorns, right, they are making losses, but they are also raising investments which are helping them to sustain in the market, right? So investment investors are an important part of the startup ecosystem, without which we could not have been able to use Flipkart or Paytm or those kind of apps, because yeah, they are running into losses, right? So if the investors were not there, they might have shut down by years ago, right? Then we have accelerators. Right? So accelerators are like incubators, but only difference is, accelerators comes into the picture in a later stage of the startup, right? Wherein the startups is in the scaling up stage. Okay, they are not in the initial stages. Incubators, on the other hand, help startup in the initial stages. Accelerator, once their initial stage is done, once they have a good customer base, once they have a good traction coming in for their product or service, right? Then the accelerators can help them to scale up to the whole new level. Right? They have again their own program, a separate accelerator. They call it as accelerator programs, wherein they again have some mentorship session. They have networking opportunities, there, and at the end, even they themselves provide funding for the startups, right? So that is the difference between accelerator and incubator. Incubator comes in the life of the startup at a very early stage, and accelerators, come startup. Then, a very important aspect of ecosystem, a startup ecosystem, is the mentors, right? So basically, they are the industry experts. They have been in the industry for a very long time. Maybe we can talk about 30, 40 plus years, right? And you tend to go to them to get necessary insights on various uh, uh, various requirements. For example, if you are running a startup and you don't have expertise in terms of marketing or raising investment, so you tend to go to these mentors, right, for guidance. They study your business model and they help you to develop. If that particular mentor is a marketing expert, then they will help you to develop a good marketing plan, right? If that particular mentor is an investment raising expert, then they will help you to maybe um, make your pitch deck ready. Then you can getting you the meetings with investors, various investors who they might have in their network, right? So again, your mentors play a huge role in enabling startups, right? Enabling innovation. Then we have government bodies, right? So these are the various government departments which support startups via the schemes that they develop, taking other ecosystem stakeholders into consideration, right? Because they are the ones who has to provide the necessary inputs for players like incubators and accelerators via their schemes. I can give you the example of Department of Science and Technology. They have various schemes, okay, which is focused on helping startup, right, via another stakeholder, maybe an incubator, maybe accelerator. Like for example, they have this thing called BDTBI or ITBI. Right? So wherein they give funding for setting up the whole incubator. Okay, the whole incubator, like about a crore rupees of funding, right, for setting up the whole infrastructure. Then they also provide funding for the recurring expenses of that particular incubator, right? So under that scheme, and that is how SIVA Health was started in 2012. We got the funding from Department of Science and Technology, and we also got the recurring funding. And then there are other schemes from them wherein they provide seed fund, right? Again, what SIVA is doing, we source the seed fund from DST, right, to this scheme called BBSSS, State Support System, wherein they give the money to us, they disperse the money to us, and then we disperse the money to the startups. Okay, in exchange of equity. I hope you guys know what equity is, right? It's just a percentage in the startup in the company. Okay. Then there are other government bodies like, as I mentioned earlier, DPIIT, right? They have the Startup India scheme, right? Wherein any startup who is registered with them, they get various benefits like salary reimbursement, electricity. Uh, they get some remuneration for electricity bill that they have paid. Then they have connects with various stakeholders like mentors, incubators, which they can take benefit out of. Then recently they have come up with a scheme called Startup India Seed Fund, wherein they will support more than 3,000 startups, right, via 300 incubators, right? And wherein a startup can do directly on their portals and get funding up to 50 lakhs, right? And even a grant of up to 20 lakhs, right? These are the schemes which are provided by DPI under Startup India scheme. Right? Then we have our state government, right? They have also been working very vigorously in developing the startup ecosystem. They have come up with various schemes, like in 2018, they had 2017, they had come up with a Go IT policy wherein IT startup or technology startup can be applicable for 10 lakhs grant. Okay, so I hope you guys know what the difference between grant and investment. Grant money is not something that you will have to return. Okay, it is a grant for you to use on your startup. Whether in the other you have to you will have to take the exchange of equity, okay, or a percentage or a stake in your company, right? Or there are other investments like debentures, wherein you will have to pay the money back or a soft loan with a soft, in the minimal interest rate and all stuff. So, government of Goa is working tremendously in this field, right? They are due to be, coming up with a new scheme now, which they have said that it's much better than the earlier scheme, right? Wherein the requirement for the disbursement of their grant is reduced significantly, right? So they were supposed to launch it in 2020, September 2020, but due to this COVID pandemic and all, it got delayed. So hopefully by the next 2 months, the scheme will be out, and people like you will be able to take benefit of it. Right? Also, there are other schemes for specifically for innovation for students. Right? So there is something called as maybe Prayas, wherein you can apply to an incubator again for this thing. If you have any product related startup or tangible product, so then you can apply for this scheme. You can get a grant of up to 10 lakhs for just developing that prototype. And you don't have to spend it on your office, office infrastructure and presentation and all. You can use that whole amount on just getting the first prototype ready, right? So it's a really good scheme wherein you get a lot of benefits, like and grant is the major part of it, right? Also, there is another scheme called Nidhi EIR, that is Nidhi Entrepreneurship in Resident, okay, wherein you can get a stipend of, okay, of 10,000 to 30,000 a month, for your own expenses, personal expenses, because once you graduate, you have this peer pressure of, getting a job and supporting the family, and that is a major reason why, students like you cannot, are not able to, work on their ideas or work on that, right? Because again, it is, it is a necessary thing that you need to support your families and all, right? So wherein, um, through this scheme, the EIR, you get a monthly stipend, so you don't have to worry about your salary. You get your salary for up to 1 year, via this scheme, which you can use for your supporting your family or need for your personal use, right? So these are the various, schemes available, right? And if anyone of you wants to avail, we can definitely get you in touch with incubators who are providing this kind of services, right? In Goa, we don't have any of the incubator who are providing this scheme yet, right? But SIBA has applied, and hopefully we will be able to, provide this service for you guys. Then we have the industry bodies, right? These are basically the association which comprises of industry members, right? The major input or the major value that they provide is, the networking support, because there are various members of industry involved in this association, right? And also they organize various mentorship programs and, startup launchpads. So, for example, there are associations like NESCOM, then SOCHAM, then we have local associations in Goa like GTA, Goa Technology Association, Goa Management Association. I hope you guys have heard about this association because they play a vital role in, developing this ecosystem. They are the ones who provide inputs to the government bodies while, preparing a scheme, while developing a scheme, right? So, and again, you get a lot of networking opportunities by, via these industry bodies. And then we have startup service providers. So basically, there are companies who provide services specifically designed for startups, right? Because in the startups in the initial stages, they don't have much cash to burn, right? And it is very difficult to find an investor right at the beginning. Right? So you have to spend some of your own savings. You might have to take a soft loan from your friends and family, right? All those things you need to do. And then again, it is a cash constraint, right? So there are these service providers who provide these services at a nominal price, right? Like for example, getting your startup registered or filing a patent, right? They provide services at a very minimum nominal price, which is affordable by any startup, right? And sometimes they themselves might be startups, right? So that is also possible. And finally, the most important part of startup ecosystem is and they are in, coming up more and more in prominence during this last 5 years once when this institutional innovation council was formed, right? So basically this education institution play a crucial role in, as they are the kind of a source of aspiring entrepreneurs like you guys, right? They foster entrepreneurial mindset in their students by setting up college incubators in some cases. Then innovation council, as we have here right now, they organize such programs, such webinars, such events related to startups. So this culture of startup in the minds of the student. right? So the student does not only think of job, but creating job. That should be the main focus, considering today's world, right? And education institution plays a very important role in this startup ecosystem as an enabler. Right? So yeah, that brings me to the end of my session, right? So we have covered the what we mean by a startup. Uh, what is the difference between a startup and a regular enterprise, right? What are the things you require to register yourself as a startup, and we have seen all these ecosystem enablers, right? Various schemes under this ecosystem enablers, and how we can take benefit out of it, right? So now, if you have any questions, the floor is open for you now. I think we have a question here in the chat box. Yeah. So is it necessary that about yes, of course, definitely. So most, yeah, it is not necessary. It's not important that you have to work on a product startup. It can be a service. For example, if you guys know Cred, right? You must have seen that ad of uh, our Druid, right? Wherein he's Indira Nagar Kabinda home and all the stuff, right? So you know what this credit does? They give you kind of offers on every time you use your credit card. Every time you use their app to pay your credit card fees. Right? So basically, they are a service. Again, Paytm is a service. It's not a startup. It's not a product-based startup, right? Yeah. So still, it's a startup, right? So it doesn't have to be a product. It doesn't have to be a tangible product. It can be a service based. Yes. Yes. Any more questions?
Thank you, sir, for a very informative session. You have given a detailed description of startup and ecosystem enablers and the various schemes which would benefit our students. And now I request the participants to ask questions. You can unmute your mic or post them in the chat box.
Yes. Any questions? You can ask them. Yeah. Is
Any
there
of the
any?
faculty or students would like to ask questions?
Yes, I think we have got one in the chat box. Yeah. Is there any consultancy given to students or any individual if they need guidance? We could share with Aspire. Right. Yeah, of course. Consultancy, as in said, there are various programs even at SIBA that we conduct, right? We have this something called as Refine, wherein we organize free webinars, okay, on various topics related to startup, related to innovation, right? And they can students or aspiring entrepreneurs can take benefit out of it. They can interact with the experts who we call to take up these sessions and all, right? Also, there are boot camps. Okay, um, boot camps wherein a particular number of people who want to start a business. They can come. They can uh, be a part of this 6 days or whatever days boot camp wherein they will be given in-depth guidance regarding various aspects of business, right? SIMA has been always conducting such boot camps. Even I think in the month of February we had started up four ADPs, right? First was in photography and videography. Then second was in for the faculties. Then third was in food processing, right? These are 36 days program, right? And it was totally online. Bearing some sessions which we had to take offline, but most of it was online. And there before the one was specifically for women entrepreneurs, right? So we always conduct this kind of programs, and anyone who wants to take benefit out of it, they can definitely learn. Yes, so what is the success rate of startup in Goa and overall in India? So, it is quite difficult to pinpoint the success ratio because some of the reports says it's 39%. So in some reports you will find it about 19%. So basically it's around that, right? 20 to 30. And in Goa, I would say it will be again around 19%, right? Because although we are having we have made a huge jump in terms of ranking of state in terms of startups, we are still quite behind behind the likes of Bangalore and Mumbai, right? But we are in the right direction, right? With people like you, aspiring entrepreneurs, we will be able to reduce that gap, hopefully in the coming years. Preeti, can you elaborate on which information you are talking about? Till then, I will take the next question. Concerning few startup service providers in Goa. Uh, what you can do is that there is something called as Magas, okay, who provide startup related services for marketing their product to the eastern countries. And there is called something called as Lawmate, who helps you for the legal registrations and all. Right. There is Devian Strokes again, who will help you with marketing, right? Marketing, digital marketing and all those stuff. We have question from Dhempe. Sir, how do we get access to enablers like incubators or mentors? So basically, you just have to contact SIBA. Okay, we can help you with SIBA is incubator, right? So you can just maybe give us a call, write us via email, and share your thoughts, right? And then we can definitely help. There are other ways through this Startup India platform, wherein you can register as an aspiring entrepreneur over there, and there are various benefits that you can take. You can get connected to investors. You can get connected to the incubators and all those stuff. You can definitely go and sign up over there. Yeah. Okay. Info regarding that. Yes, yes. So what we do is, it's always better for anyone who is, an aspiring entrepreneur, anyone who wants to, go into that field. You guys need to follow these incubators, the accelerators, the service providers on their Facebook pages. Right? For example, at SIBA, we always put, whatever program that we have on our social media handles, right, majorly, and then we share it across with our connects. Then it is also available on our website, right? So if anything you want yourself to keep updated about this program, it's the best way is to follow the social media handles of these enablers. Yeah, for question from Chintan, what legal precautions can I take to make sure nobody steals my startup ID? There is something called as NDA, right? Non-disclosure agreement. So whenever you want to disclose your idea to someone, it's good to have an NDA signed with them. But the thing is, if you are asking an incubator to sign an NDA, no one will sign it because we always think that we have a unique idea, but the incubators are, there are various people coming in with the same particular idea, right? There might be some differences, but majorly it is the same idea, right? So none of the incubator will sign an NDA with you if you want to share your idea. And I'm not sure whether you want to focus more on securing your ideas rather than bringing it into the market, right? If you are spending all your resources, all your energy in securing your ideas, who will be the one who will be to start that particular idea? Right? It's important for you to work on that idea and get into the market rather than focusing all your energy to just sign an NDA and patent it. And all. Yeah, patenting is something that you can do if your idea or a product is patentable, right? But signing an NDA, I won't advise you to go into that right away, right? You can definitely go and discuss these ideas with the incubators. They have the kind of the ethics which is required, right? To and they frankly they don't have the time to steal your ideas, right? So it is always better to have a word with them. Even before that, you can have a word with your faculties, right? And they can explore the possibilities. Okay, but yeah, if you want to do that, NDA is the best possible way for you to go ahead, a non-disclosure agreement.
Any more questions? Thank you, sir. We have amongst us Mr. Ravindra Manerkar, who is also present for the webinar. Mr. Ravindra Manerkar is the head at EDC Ignite Hub. Dhempe College has a collaboration with EDC Ignite. Mr. Manerkar and his team have always extended their cooperation and guidance towards the functioning of IIC at Dhempe College. As a part of this collaboration, we organize a visit of TY students to EDC Ignite every year. And Mr. Manerkar has always spared time from his busy schedule and tried to participate in the IIC activities of this college. So we welcome and thank you, sir. The feedback link has been shared in the chat box. I request the participants to kindly fill the feedback form. On behalf of Dhempe College of Arts and Science, I would like to offer sincere gratitude to the guest speaker for today's session, Mr. Sanjay Mulvi, for having taken time from his busy schedule and accepting our invitation to be the guest speaker for the session. We thank you, sir, for sharing your expertise knowledge on startup, incubators, and ecosystem enablers. The presentation has given an excellent coverage to the theme of the session and has surely motivated the audience to the concept of startup. I would also thank the principal of the institution, Professor Vrinda Borkar, for her constant support and encouragement in organizing the various IIC activities. I also thank the IIC members, Dr. Chandan Naik and Mr. Gaurang Bane, for their contribution in organizing this webinar, and also acknowledge the efforts of other faculty members of the college who have directly and indirectly contributed to this webinar. Lastly, and most important, I will also thank all the faculty members and students in attending today's session. Thank you very much.